Louis, we start. This time we will talk about game on big blind against small blind. So let's begin. First of all, let's take a look what statistics do we want to have on big blind against small blind. We are going to call against small blind open raise in the range of 50 to 60%, and we will have a lot of 3-bets, 20 up to 30%, and of course we are going to fight back against limpers. Basically we will be isolating close to every hand. Most important things. We need to understand that small blind will most of the times try to get into the game, try to steal our big blind with a raise, or try to limp to take a look on the flop, try to realize his equity. And we need to understand that when we are on big blind, usually we are out of position against early position, middle position, cut-off button. So we are always out of position and we don't have positional advantage. But when we play on big blind against small blind, we are in position, and this is our big advantage, and we should not lose it. We should actively use it. Thus, we take a look on pot odds differently. So yes, small blind can open raise with a big sizing, and we can think, oh, we have bad pot odds, so let's fold. But we usually forget that we are in position, so we can do our defense in a wider way. About 3.5 open raise. Many players see it very scary, and they overfold against it because they do not understand the very important basic thing about pot odds. So when small blind open raise 3.5, we just need to add only 2.5 big blinds to the final pot, which will be 8 big blinds. So all we need to have is the pot odds, which are 31%, and considering that we have positional advantage, which will help us to realize the whole equity of our hand. In terms of mathematics, it's just all in. Pressing call button will be profitable for us most of the times. Take a look, please, this chart. It's standard open raise range of small blind. Not so big, not so small, like average on the field. So if you take a look at it, you see it's about 30%, 40%. And if we defend 10-5 offsuited against 3.5 open raise, we have 36% equity against such range. And if you remember, we need only 31%. If we have 31%, the call is profitable. But with even 10-5 offsuited, we have 36%. So you see, it means that we need to defend a lot against even 33.5% open raise. So even 7 deuce suited has 33%. And we need only 31% against such sizing. Take a look at the legend. So these things we will use. We will be calling, we will be 3-betting, and then calling 4-bet jam, for example. Or some hands we will use as 3-bet bluff. We will fold them. Some hands we will just simply push, fold, and against limp, we will use isolate. Please remember that all of the charts we will see, all the ranges, they are for cheap EV situations. They are not for ICM. On final tables, we do not defend big blind that wide, so be careful. Do not use these charts when you are playing on the final table. Play it more tight. And important thing that against 2 big blinds open raise, we never in cheap EV. Because as I said before, against 3.5 open raise, we just need 31%, right? Pot odds will be way more better for us, so any hand can be played profitably against such 2 big blinds open raise. When we do not have information on our opponent, we try to use like a balanced strategy, but we do not forget about the exploit. So you will see what I mean when we go on. Remember about the 3-bet sizing. We will use them according to our effective stack. So when we 24 to 35 stacks effective, we use 2.5 3-bet raise. When we are 35 to 50% big blinds, we use 3x, like small blind open raise 3 big blinds with 3-bet to 9 big blinds. That's the point. And if we are deep, 50 plus, we use 3x. But if we see very small open raise, like 2.2 big blinds, we can 3-bet it 4x times. Let's go to the charts. Take a look. This is the range which we use in deep stacks, 50 plus big blinds, and we do not know who is our opponent. So this is like a balanced strategy. So the first thing which you can see that we are almost never folding. The hands we fold are the very bottom of our range, which do not have 31% equity against our opponent, so we fold them. But everything else goes to call, so all suited low hands we call, off suited the same, and take a look at the 3-bet. So we can use 3-bets or calls with these hands. 10-9, 9-8, so connectors and so on, they are good for 3-bet. For example, if you 3-bet 8-6 suited, right, you make fold, your opponent fold King-6 offsuit or King-8 offsuited. They are not going to call against a 3-bet out of position, so we make our opponents fold better hand. They won't realize their equity, and if they call, most of the times it will be hands like King-10, for example King-Jack, and on low textures we will be dominating these hands, and we will be not afraid that if we hit, for example, 8, our opponent will have 8 way more less. Maybe King-8 suited, for example, he can call against 3-bet, but most of the times it can be even folded, so our ranges won't cross and we will be fine. Don't forget about value 3-bets, of course, with the strongest suited Broadway pairs are good for 3-bets, and you have 3-bet bluffs. So, for example, hand like Ace-4 of suited, you can call, you can 3-bet. Maybe you have some information on opponent that he has high PFR, he open raises a lot, you feel like he's a little bit aggressive. You can 3-bet this hand with the blocker, make him fold a lot of his range, and it will be fine. Also, you can 3-bet King-4, Queen-4. These hands are not very good on post-flop. They have low kickers, and if you just 3-bet them as a bluff and forget about this hand, you will see a lot of folds, so do not be afraid of 3-bet. When the stack size goes smaller, our fold equity increases, right? So if your opponent has 50 plus big blinds, 70 big blinds, you will be calling a lot. So you do not 3-bet that wide because opponent will call more. So when you are 30 to 50 big blinds, you can use these hands which we fold basically as a 3-bet bluff. Because our opponent will be folding more, we will see less situations when we need to play post-flop, and we can take the pot before we see the flop by 3-betting. But remember that if the stack size is lower than 50 big blinds, we will be facing more 4-bet jams. And this is why we do not want to lose our equity 3-betting hand like 9-8, because if we get jam from King-Queen, we will lose a lot of equity. Our hand 9-8 have a lot of equity against King-Queen, and we are afraid of 4-bets. So all our 3-bets like these hands, we do not want to fold them against 4-bet. So we send them into call, right? Just calling our opponent open raise, and we use 3-bet bluffs with such hands. So the strategy will be like we 3-bet trash hands, and we 3-bet value hands. It's called polar strategy. Remember about it when you see your stack size getting lower than 50 big blinds. When we are 24 to 30 big blinds, we do not have sizing 3-bet, we have jam or a call, right? So what we will be calling? We will be calling a lot. Once again, we have great pot odds, and we will be jamming. So we will be jamming pairs, we will be jamming suited aces, and the strongest hands we can 3-bet with sizing. So Ace-10, Ace-Jack, Ace-King, Ace-Queen, suited ones we can jam, we can 3-bet. Suited ones better to 3-bet. Without a jam, let our opponent make a mistake, click a call. Suited hands playing, these hands will be playing amazing on post-flop. We can have a flush draw. It will be easier to play them on post-flop. So I suggest you to call 3-bet suited hands with sizing like 6 to 7 big blinds and jam off-suited aces. When your stack size is 18 to 24 big blinds, there will be no option with sizing 3-bet. You just jam or call. And take a look. We do not 3-bet monsters. We let our opponents make mistake. We will be invincible on post-flop with aces, kings, and queens. So we just call this open raise and let our opponent out of position suffer. The same story. 18 to 24 big blinds, we do not 3-bet kings, aces, and queens. Now, how to exploit opponent which is aggressive, right? 35 to 50 big blinds, we 3-bet like beasts. So we 3-bet trash hands. We have 3-bet value part. And we 3-bet always these connectors, gap connectors, Broadway, off-suited Broadway, suited Broadway, weak aces, queens, kings, off-suited. We just exploit our opponent because aggressive opponents, they like to open raise up to 70% of their range and they simply cannot defend it. Before they adapt, you will be you will get a lot of chips from him, and maybe next time he will forget about you. He won't be having statistics on you, and so on and so on. So be very aggressive when you see the opponent who likes to still 3-bet a lot. Right, so about playing big blind versus limp. And before I forget, against fishy players, play solid. So you can call a lot, but don't 3-bet with as a bluff. If they open raise, they do it very fair. So if they open raise, they have a hand. So just call with medium and weak hands because the amateur player will be playing straightforward. So you will be able to fold on the turn, for example, if you see a lot of aggression after betting the flop. And if you have strong hand, feel free to 3-bet and let for value. About limpers. So there you will see a lot of limps on your limits, and usually it is a sign of a weak range. That's why you should exploit it. You should isolate and then make a c-bet if you see a call. Anyway, if you see a call anyway, if players limp, they usually overfold against isolates, against c-bets. So you have to exploit it as much as you can, be as much as aggressive as possible. You won't see a lot of players who are capable of limp raising, putting you in dangerous situations. So you can just make isolate almost every time. Pay attention to isolate sizing. So 25 big blinds or less, you isolate 3 big blinds. 25 to 80, you can use 3.5. Sometimes you can make it more with value against fish players. And in deep stacks, like 80 big blinds plus, use 4 to 4.5. Basically, you can use up to 100% of isolate against limp until you get to ABI 20 or something. Because players which will exploit, which balance their limp strategy with limp raises and so limp calls, limp folds, they're very rare on limits below 20. That's why you can isolate almost every hand. Isolate, c-bet, that will be enough to print money. But if you face a player, if you see that this player can limp raise, he plays smart with limps, you can check behind these hands. Suited hands, weak suited hands, right? Because you do not want to lose equity against limp raise, you want to keep these hands, isolate, fold them, so you check them behind. But trash hands, you should not check behind with trash hands because they are awful on post flop and you won't be able to fight against a c-bet on many flops. That's why you just better to get initiative and isolate and then c-bet. When you are in stack sizes less than 25 big blinds, there you can see some traps or some people try to adapt there, and here you can be checking behind with suited pot, letting your opponent make mistakes, and you will be comfortable on a post flop. Some hands you can isolate, of course, many hands you isolate. Some hands you can just jam. These hands will be like deuces, sixes, right? So you just jam them against limp in these stacks, and you jam weakest kings and up to 8-9 offsuit. Other hands like ace king, ace queen, you just isolate, letting your opponent make a mistake by limp jamming behind. For example, you can have ace jack and opponent can be making some trap with ace 8, for example, and you isolate it and they jam it. Because if you jam ace queen, for example, right, an opponent was planning to make a limp raise to make you fold sometime with ace 3, he will see the jam and he will fold it. But if you make it with a 3 big blinds isolate, your opponent can make a mistake and jam it, and then you will get him. So we should remember that we are very active on big blind against small blind. Always watch for stack size, pay attention to the type of your opponent. So if you do not your opponent, try to make it a little bit balanced. You see aggressive opponent, you try to be 3-betting as much as you can. And if you see amateur fish player, you just make it polar. So use strategy, you 3-bet with strong hands and do not use 3-bet bluffs against fish players because their range is very solid. That's all. Thank you for your attention and hope to see your improvements on big blind against small blind. Don't forget to send your reports in a weekly report. Goodbye.